A while back, I showed you 5 places on Earth where no human being has ever stood. I figured that was the whole list. It wasn't even close. I went digging, and it turns out our planet is way emptier than one video can hold. So here we go again. 5 more places on Earth we have barely explored. And this time, we're not just going deep underwater. We're going into caves that make their own weather, mountains cut off from the world for millions of years, and finally straight down into the planet itself. Let's start on the surface and work our way in. Number 5. Doong Cave. In Vietnam, near the border with Laos, there's a cave so big it has its own jungle, its own river, its own clouds. Actual clouds form inside it. Son Doong is the largest cave passage on Earth by volume. Parts of it are over 200 meters tall and 150 meters wide, big enough to fly a passenger plane through, big enough to fit an entire New York City block, skyscrapers included, inside a single chamber. A local man found the entrance back in 1991. He heard wind and the sound of a river roaring up out of the ground, got scared, and left. Then he couldn't find it again. The cave was basically lost for almost 20 years, until he relocated it, and a British survey team finally went in properly in 2009. 2009. That's more recent than YouTube. Inside, where the ceiling has collapsed and let sunlight in, whole forests grow. Trees, vines, monkeys, birds, an ecosystem sealed inside a mountain. And it's still not fully explored. Deep in the cave, there's a 90-meter wall of muddy calcite the explorers named the Great Wall of Vietnam. For years, that was the end of the map. When divers finally got past it, they found the passage keeps going, underwater, into tunnels nobody has reached the end of. The biggest cave on the planet, and we found it in our lifetime, and we still haven't seen all of it. Number 4. Movile Cave. Staying underground, but this one you really do not want to visit. Movile Cave is in Romania, near the Black Sea, and it was sealed off from the outside world for around 5.5 million years. Completely cut off. No sunlight, no fresh air, no contact with the surface since before humans existed as a species. It was found by total accident in 1986, when workers were testing ground for a power plant and drilled into it. And when scientists went down, they found something that shouldn't really be possible. Life. Lots of it. 50-something species living in there, and more than 30 of them exist nowhere else on Earth. Blind, colorless spiders, scorpions, leeches, weird pale creatures that evolved in total darkness. Here's the thing that makes it alien. Up here, basically all life runs on sunlight. Plants catch the sun, everything else eats the plants. Down in Movile, there is no sun, and there never was. The entire food web runs on chemistry instead. Bacteria that eat sulfur and pull energy out of the toxic air, and that air will kill you. It's about half the oxygen we breathe, loaded with carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide, basically poison gas. Scientists can only go in for a few minutes at a time, with the right gear, and almost nobody is allowed in at all. Fewer than 100 people have ever been inside, ever, to protect it. It's the closest thing we have to a self-contained alien biosphere, and it's sitting under a field in Romania. Number 3. The Tepuis. Let's go up for a second because unexplored doesn't always mean down. On the border of Venezuela, Guyana, and Brazil, there are these gigantic flat-topped mountains that rise straight up out of the jungle with sheer vertical cliffs on every side. They're called Tepuis, and some of them stand over a kilometer tall with completely sheer walls. Picture a table the size of a city, dropped in the middle of the rainforest, with nothing but a straight drop on all sides. Those summits have been physically cut off from the jungle below for millions of years. Nothing walks up a vertical cliff, so whatever ended up on top has been evolving on its own little island in the sky, separate from the rest of the world, for an incredibly long time. Scientists who've made it to the top keep finding species that live on one tabletop and nowhere else on the planet. Unique frogs, plants that eat insects, black flowers. These mountains are so strange and so isolated that they literally inspired the old novel, The Lost World. The whole prehistoric plateau full of things that shouldn't still exist idea comes from these. And the wild part is a lot of those summits have still barely been surveyed. Some have never had a person stand on them at all. Getting up there means either a serious technical climb up a wet vertical rock face or a helicopter in a remote corner of the Amazon with weather that changes by the minute. So there are flat mountaintops right there on the map that no human has ever set foot on. Number 2. Verovkina Cave. Okay, back underground, and this time all the way down. Verovkina Cave in the country of Georgia, is the deepest known cave on Earth. From the entrance to the deepest point we've reached is about 2,200 meters straight down. That's more than 2 kilometers into the planet. To put that in your head, you could stack about 6 Eiffel Towers on top of each other inside this cave and still not reach the bottom. And getting down there is not a walk. Explorers spend days descending, rappelling down vertical shafts, squeezing through tunnels, camping underground in total darkness with the whole weight of a mountain over their heads. It takes something like a week just to get to the bottom and back. And here's the thing, we're not even sure it is the bottom. Cave explorers keep pushing Verovkina deeper. Every serious expedition finds new passages, new tunnels branching off. At the very bottom, there's a sump, a section that's completely flooded with water, and beyond it, nobody knows. In 2018, a team was down near the bottom when the cave suddenly flooded. Water came pouring in and they had to sprint upward for their lives, climbing for hours ahead of the rising water. They made it, but it tells you what kind of place this is. We have a hole in the earth over 2 kilometers deep we still haven't found where it ends, and it occasionally tries to drown the people exploring it. Number 1, the mantle. For number 1, I want to go the deepest we possibly can, straight down into our own planet. We have rock samples from the moon. We've landed probes on Mars and on a comet, but we have never, not once, gotten a direct sample of the Earth's mantle. The mantle is the giant layer of hot rock right under the crust we live on. It makes up about 84% of the entire planet by volume, the overwhelming majority of the Earth, and we've never touched it. Not the surface of it, not with the fanciest drill we own. We tried. In the 1970s and 80s, the Soviets drilled the deepest hole in human history, the Kola Super Deep Borehole, and after 19 years of drilling, they reached about 12 kilometers down. Sounds like a lot. It's not. They didn't even make it through the crust. The rock down there got so hot, around 180 degrees Celsius, that it started behaving like plastic and kept squeezing the hole shut. They gave up. 12 kilometers into a planet that's 6,371 kilometers to the center, we scratched about 0.2% of the way down, and the Earth said no. So, we live on a thin shell of rock floating on a massive ocean of the stuff. The mantle drives earthquakes and volcanoes and literally moves the continents around, and we have never held a fresh piece of it in our hands. The deepest we have ever reached into our own planet doesn't even get us out of the attic. And that's the thing I keep landing on with these videos. The deepest cave gets deeper almost every year because we keep finding new tunnels at the bottom of it. We walked into the largest cave on Earth and still haven't found the end of it. The unexplored didn't disappear. It just hid in the corners of the places we thought we already knew. We live on the most explored planet we know of, and we've barely seen it. Thanks for watching, and subscribe, because there are clearly more of these. And I'm going to keep finding them.